Yo, gamers, what's up? It's Demon12 here, back with another Wuthering Waves video. And today, I just want to give my first impressions of Wuthering Waves. I've been playing it for a couple hours now, right? Since release. It came out early, which is kind of surprised me. But, I've gotten a feel, well, I've gotten a pretty decent feel for the game. Obviously, I'm not very far as the game just came out, right? There's a whole lot to do. But I wanted to give my first impressions on it because I've, spent the past few hours playing with the game, learning it, and stuff like that. Uh, so yeah, I guess let's just go over it. There's a lot of good things, but there's far too many bad things that I think is going to turn off a lot of players. To be completely honest with you, I think a lot of people are not gonna even give this game a shot for what it can be, uh, purely from the current state that it's in, and we're gonna talk about that, right? Excuse me. I just like chugged down a drink. It's late. All right, I'm trying to get my fluids in me. Go to sleep, right? You know what how it is. So I'm gonna start with some of the good things that I think that are really great about the game. And that is the animations. I actually think the animations visually look really well. Specifically like the character animations, I think they're all great. There is some downside to the animations, to be honest with you. Some of them look a little jank, but in terms of feel, it actually feels way more fluid than I thought, especially with like traversal. Like I personally thought traversal was going to be more jank, but it's like all automated and it doesn't feel bad whatsoever, right? You can pretty easily just hop, skip, run and do everything you need to do to get around without much issue. And even if the grapple isn't like what you expect, it's still something you can use for like movement tech. Um, and it actually all, it's really fluid and just works very well, right? And so that's pretty nice and unexpected for me because I honestly thought before playing it now that it looked jank and wouldn't be that good, right? Just because a lot of the beta was from the second closed beta test or even before that, and they changed a lot since then, right? They've, clearly been working to improve the game. But it still has, a fair bit of issues. And again, I know how I'm making it sound, but I'm telling you, it is fun to play. I am not the biggest fan of the parry mechanic, but if you learn it, it's not all that bad. One of the issues I had is I was playing way too aggressive. I think you gotta you gotta wait to time it. The dodging feels kind of weird to me. Maybe it was just the one boss, but I think the dodges probably could be improved. Or maybe I was just misunderstanding the timing because it's not as like intuitive, I would say. It's a bit different than other games. But yeah, I'll get more into that. But yeah, the animations are good. Damn, is that the only thing I can say? It's fun to play. The combat and gameplay isn't bad, right? I like the combos. I like how the characters feel. As I said, they already feel good. The animations are pretty solid. Um, damn. I thought I would have had more to say. Well, is what it is. Let's get into all the bad. So this game has a lot of issues at launch, and it's unfortunate the way it is. So let me just go over a few of them. The English voice acting and localization is bad, right? It's two different things, localization and the voice acting. The English voice acting mainly for this character right here, Yan Yang, or I don't know how to say her name. I apologize for me butchering it. Her English VA I don't think did a good job whatsoever. Maybe it was the mic, maybe it was the direction, but I think it's just straight up bad. She's talking really slow, right? And again, the first like hour of this game is complete yap fest, and she just doesn't sound good, right? It's slow, she sounds bad, and it is a key standout versus everyone else. Because everyone else is either fine or good. Hers is just straight up bad. I don't know what happened with this, but it was just terrible, and she completely ruins a certain aspect, like certain aspects of the story, for that reason, right? Further, moving on, certain localization changes, and actually let me actually pull up this image for you guys because there is multiple instances of this. I just have a few key ones, right? Like, hold on, sorry, there's a lot there's a lot of stuff going on with the game right now, and it's very unfortunate. So give me one moment to pull it up. If I can find it, I'm gonna be able to find it because it was sent by somebody else and not me. because I actually found a different issue. Wow, give me one moment. Okay, I found it. So this is actually just an error by Kuro Games, right? This is a mistake they made when coding the text description. They forgot one of the brackets, so it just completely broke the whole thing, right? I wanted to pull that up. But then also there's stuff like, I believe it's this character's skill description. Right. So Verena coverages an area energy field in front to grow foliage, dealing spectral damage within the range. Sorry, converges. English. My bad. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. But let me read that again. Verena converges an energy field in front to grow foliage, dealing spectral damage within range. There's a lot of skills and descriptions in this game that are just poorly written, flat out in English. This is not good for a lot of reasons. That much should be obvious. This obviously takes away from the experience of the game. It makes things annoying. The wording across the board is just kind of poor and confusing in a lot of regards. I do understand it, right? Because I'm, a nerd guy who looks deep into games like this and, does all this stuff. But it's just not something that should be there, right? And it's just across the board that the wording has issues like this. And there's plenty of examples. If you play the game, you'll understand that the wording is just confusing. There's grammatical errors across the board. In here, I'm gonna move on to a different issue, but they even accidentally sent out everybody like beta questionnaires that you can't even fill out. This, when you click on it, is a survey completely in Chinese. So, yeah, that's a separate issue, but I thought I'd point that out as well. I don't know if I said it yet, but my game crashed once already. Let's see, there's the voicing. Oh, the camera is the worst thing ever. So apart from the voice acting, one of the things I noticed whenever I first opened up the game is I had to go in here and then max out the sensitivity on both the aiming and the horizontal, like regular sensitivity, because the camera is terrible. Motion blur is also on by default, but again, the separate thing. I know I'm jumping from place to place, just bear with me. There's a lot of like issues going on. So the camera's terrible. Of course, motion blur, nobody cares about that, just turn it off. There's also all these camera lock-on features, which I think are terrible. I prefer to play action games without lock-on. I know it sounds weird, but I do Monster Hunter without lock-on, Devil May Cry without it. Well, it kind of has it built in, but you know what I'm saying. I normally turn all lock off, right? And there is the minor lock-on, right? Because obviously you're in combat, so your character wants to lock onto an enemy. But the lock-on camera is really annoying and just bad. Like, the camera feels awful. This is one of the worst cameras I've used in any video game because it's so stiff when it starts out, and the way it locks on just locks your camera into a certain position. You can't move it whatsoever. And then also there's multiple sections in the story that like fix your camera while your character is still able to move in a certain way, and it's really jarring and just feels awful to use. I don't know why they made that decision, but there's a lot of moments where it just like, grabs your camera and holds it in place. Really annoying. But then there's a specific thing with the lock-on that I also find really annoying. Multiple instances of me during stream, I've had it to where I was attacking an enemy, and then the character stops and retargets a different enemy, even though the enemy isn't dead yet. Like, they'll get down to low HP, and then they'll just, like, retarget to another nearby enemy. I don't know why it did that. I didn't press anything. Just the actual lock-on mechanic itself was, like, janky as well. And that bothered me towards the end of my stream, right? I was doing less combat, though. Like, I did a lot in the middle and then less towards the end and, at the beginning. So that was annoying. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but again, I already mentioned how I'm not huge on the parry timings, but it is something you kind of got to get used to. The dodge is in a similar vein. I don't really have any comments on the characters. They all feel like pretty good. Actually, I do. I think all of the gun characters feel awful. And I'm on PC, by the way. It's worse on mobile from what I've heard. Seen in multiple comments, I've talked to multiple people that the controls are even worse on mobile, and the stability of the game's even worse on mobile. I'll get into that in a moment. but I think the gun characters in this game genuinely feel awful. Not only is the aim down sight speed completely jank, because again, as I said, the camera's already bad, but the actual like aiming mode is just as jank. But then these characters, the way they're like locking on as well, with the issues I already mentioned, are even worse because they're ranged characters, right? And so you can't, you know, I hit my mic. Apologies. You can't just go up to the enemy and slash him. No, you have to be from afar using the actual game's mechanics, and they feel awful to use. I think all the gun characters feel awful to use. I don't want to use a single gun character. It was terrible trying to play as this character. And the worst part is some of the exploration puzzles you got to use a gun character for because it's a ranged challenge, right? You can try to abuse it, and there's a couple of ways to, you know, get them done without it, but you need to have some sort of ranged ability, and the only character with a targeting ability with, you know, long range is a gun character. And so that got annoying. There's more gun challenges I'll have to deal with in the future, right? Because I haven't finished exploring, but you know, that's another thing. And on the note of exploration, people are going to talk about the map size. It seems all right for now. You know, maybe it's kind of small, but it is like 1.0, right? And the game's only like 20 gigabytes, so there's that. I'm going to keep going through a list of like game L's. And so maybe this isn't what people want to hear, but this is genuinely how I feel. It's like, I like it, it's pretty good, but there's a lot of issues with the game currently, right? I asked somebody to give me a list. There's no 120 FPS for whatever reason. Again, these games need to have just uncapped frames. I don't know why the developers are even doing this, to be honest with you, but you know, apart from that, there's the stability issues we already talked about. Mobile has worse stability issues that I've heard. There's a ping issue with some servers, right? Not sure what that's about. I can't confirm that to be certain, but that's an issue. Yeah, so the rendering has some issues when things are further away. So hell, it was right there. You can see it unloaded everything and then just pops all back in, right? And then also when something's barely in front of you, it's completely de-rendered. And mind you, all these graphical issues and crashes and stuff are playing on a really high-end PC. I've got like a 3070, you know, i7 10th gen, which is a few years old at this point, but I've got high-end specs. I'm having these issues with crashes and graphical problems. I've seen other people with graphical problems. I don't know what happened, but the optimization for this just seems like they did a poor job of optimizing. And another note of that on the optimization is my CPU performance is jumping up to 80 or like 50 in some cases. It shouldn't be. I don't know what's happening. It's fluctuating like crazy. I've seen it at some point in the game where it was like sitting at just like 40 at CPU usage when it shouldn't be doing that. Also, my RAM usage is like almost maxed out. I do have tabs and stuff open. I'm not currently streaming or anything. I don't know why it's also like I've got 32 gigs, mind you. 32 gigs of RAM, decent speed. I don't know what's going on with the optimization of this game, but there is definitely something wrong based on all these like data points, right? Like I don't know what is going on, but there's an issue in that regard for a lot of people I know. Yeah, we already said the localization is bad. No 120 frames. Mobile is having a whole cascade of issues. People on Android apparently are having trouble even getting into the game. Like they can't even play it, or the game crashes. Some dude I saw on Twitter crashed like 8 times in a row, and like it was just like unplayable for him. There's other like actual core game issues. But I'll just move on to the next thing. Story. The story is very mediocre. I'm not sure what happened because I know Kuro Games had to rewrite 90% of this according to them. But the story was... so far what I've played of it, very mediocre. Major Yap Fest, I'll be honest, they've done way too much yapping in the first hour or so in this game. They throw so many terms at you. Like, there's so many terms that are thrown at you. There's so many, like, so many just, like, random things thrown at you at the beginning of the game. And unlike what because here's the thing, I will criticize open worlds fairly enough, because there's one thing that I think many of these open world games specifically, and I'm going to mention, you know, I'm going to mention that name that no one wants me to mention, Genshin Impact, that these games don't do. They don't take advantage of their open world well. I think they do a poor job taking advantage of open world. And this game does the same sort of start where it's like a locked-in experience for the first 30 minutes or so, and doesn't even allow you to do anything except sit there and read text for, 30 minutes, right? And it's just not fun, and I don't think it takes advantage of the open world. And that leads into the story with the fact that the story itself wasn't very interesting, so I don't feel compelled to actually care about the characters or the world itself, because it just goes in, it's like, oh, MC, you have visions for like there's like 3 visions back to back, like unironically. You load into the game, it's a vision before you actually start getting to the gameplay. Oh, you walk 2 meters after talking, boom, another vision. And then it's like, oh, you go forward a couple things, oh, you get trapped in another vision. Like, it's not bad. It's just not good, right? But then that happens, you get glazed, for the next, like, hour, like 2+ hours of story, because they're like, oh, the MC is so important, right? Oh, MC, you'll be granted access and permissions to everything, because you're so important. It's like, oh, I'm going to give you a house, too. And then you go outside of the castle, and it's like, oh, MC's so important. I'm being hunted down by this Scar guy who shows up and is like, ha, you're so smart, MC. I need you to believe me and trust me. We're going to be best friends, right? He's, some, like, evil dude. And then you have the option to fight him, which I did because I wanted to fight him. I felt like it. And then it's just like, damn, the MC is so special and good, and your friend just got you out of Scar's, like, dream or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like, just generic. Maybe it gets better, but I'm not sure what happened. It's just like, it's just kind of silly that the MC is getting glazed, like, since frame 1 in the story, right? Because you've got amnesia, right? But apparently you can absorb the enemy echoes into your own body because you're special. You're like some reborn god from beforehand. You're like the chosen one, whatever it is. That's an issue. Well, not so much an issue, but more of just like, And, side note, I got one of the best characters in the game from the beginner banner, or arguably the best character in the game from the beginner banner, for what she does in supporting the team. And I'm still, I'm only pointing this out because I'm not like gonna be biased from the fact that the game has issues. Excuse me. I just wanted to point that out. I'm flexing. I'm flexing. What else is there? I'm trying to think what else is there. Oh, also, by the way, I don't know. No, sorry. I was gonna mention something about the camera again. I don't know if that's everything that I have, like, issues-wise. I still think the game is fun. This isn't a TUF situation where the game is bad. I genuinely think this game has a good, like, groundwork. I just don't think it was ready because of all these performance issues and other issues with the game. I feel like they could have had time to continue cooking. The banner system seems fine. It's weird why there's 2 different currencies for the limited banner, right? But they do give you, pretty good options in terms of characters, right? Like you get the beginner banner into the guaranteed character banner, so you can pretty reliably get 2 5-stars, or at least one of the base 5-stars that you want of your choice guaranteed. So there's that. I don't know how generous they are with the summons. I've done a lot so far. I only have like 2 multis, so that's kind of concerning, but we'll see how that plays out over the course of the update, right? Because I do intend to keep playing. I am having fun despite all the issues. I'm mainly bringing those up because I do think it's important to note that there are a lot of issues that a lot of people are having. And I think it's only fair to point out these issues, not only for the players, but the developers, so that, both parties can be informed and make the decisions with the correct information. Because these are issues that people are having, and that I'm having myself as well. I do think there's a lot of good quality. Okay, this is another good thing. I do think there's a lot of good quality of life things already baked into the game. So the UI itself doesn't look that good, but it functions really well. So, like, example, there's this edit bio here. You can go here, but if you're going into your menu here, you can see everything. But it allows you to swap between all the tabs regardless. So everything flows very well in the UI. Like, it all works like you think it would. It all feels good. It all works. It's like, oh, this is this, right? So like, it's very good on the functionality for the UI, and it's fast and it's snappy, right? There's no like loading for any of it, and like same with the character swapping, right? And that's another thing that's really good. It's all snappy. It feels good, right? Like there's no issues wise there. It's instant. Like you can swap out characters right instantly, like that. Like it takes a second, swap out characters, boom, new party, right? So it all is great. The UI and everything, like all the gameplay side stuff functions really well, right? In that regard, like the in terms of like UI and everything, that's all great, right? Just visually, I think it's not super interesting. I think there's a lot of improvements that can be done there, but it functions really well. We'll see what the events are like. I will say in terms of content, I know I mentioned before the game came out, I'm very concerned about the content. We'll see. You know, it's kind of whatever. Oh, this is a small one, but I think the names for stuff is kind of bad. Like the battle pass is called the Pioneer Podcast. That along with the other grammatical things, I think they're just really bad names. I know people mentioned this before, but all the character names are hard to pronounce, and that's true. Like this is definitely an American thing, or like a Americanized take, but most of the names in this game are super hard to pronounce for no real reason. Or I guess Romanized would be the term, right? I think that's the term. But like they could have done something with the names to make them more easy to pronounce for, you know, players, right? And understandable. Like the name scheme going on here is a little silly, right? But there's that. Uh I think that covers everything. I'll be honest. I know I've yapped for 20 minutes, and look, I'm being dead serious. I do think this game is worth trying. I do think it's worth playing. Uh, Obviously, don't for one spend your money on any gacha game. Never do that. That is a clown decision. But this game, I'm finding fun. I think it's worth trying out. You should try it just so that you can get a feel for it. And it's like, if you like it, great. If you don't, also great, right? You at least gave it a shot, right? Because I'm having fun. I do think it's worth trying, at least trying out, right? And I was having fun before I got this 5-star. I literally got her like 10 minutes before recording, right? Like I got her at the end of my stream. It's not affecting my opinion whatsoever. I just know she's OP. Um, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. I talked about story. I talked about all the issues, the myriad of issues. There's more issues, um, that people have, but I can't name all of them. There's the issues with the design visually. Oh, I guess I can mention that. A lot of the characters aren't visually appealing, right? And a lot of the scenery isn't visually appealing in terms of colors. Like it feels very like it's better than what it was, 100%. If you looked at the old footage of the gameplay of this game, it is better. Um, but a lot of it feels flat just across the board. I do think that vibrance definitely would help it out a lot. Now a lot of them still look good regardless, right? A lot of them still look really good. But I think more vibrance, especially with the character designs, would help out a lot more. Not that it needs to be, but a lot of colors in this game and just visuals look very flat. And a lot of people have commented this. I feel the same way. But the character designs themselves aren't really anything crazy. I don't think, like, a lot of them just aren't really that interesting. I will say my favorite one is going to be one of the newer characters, right? That they, this is probably my favorite design. I think this is by far the best design Wuthering Waves has across the board, without question. If you looked at her in-game model from the trailer, she looks fantastic. I think that's the best one. And then here's the other character. These 1.1 characters blow the other ones out of the water. It's like not even close. They look really good. But yeah, there's design-wise. Exploration so far seems fine. The movement in terms of exploration doesn't... currently, from what I've experienced, isn't as good as I was hoping, to be honest. Because like, you got a grapple hook. It's like, yo, let me use the grapple hook. I can't like throw the grapple hook somewhere. There's specific grapple points around the map, and they're like only in cities. You can't find grapple points anywhere else. So the grapple essentially works as a double jump that you otherwise, you know, wouldn't have, right? I mean, some characters have abilities to like, you know, float themselves in the air, right? And do stuff like that. But otherwise it's just a, you know, double jump, right? It's nothing crazy. And so there's that. Yeah, so again, exploration so far is it's stuff like this. So like there's a bunch of mini challenges around the world. I think there honestly should be more. It feels like there's not enough of these exploration of like events, I guess to call them. So I'll see how I feel about that later after I explored the world more. But it doesn't feel like there's enough in it, you know. So that is a big concern for me. Uh, yeah, exploration story, it's mid. Um, Combat, as I said, it's pretty good, right? It's solid. It's nothing like groundbreaking, but like I kind of like it. It takes a second to get used to though, because every character feels different, and for like parry timings and stuff like that. And as I said, the dodge is off, all the issues, and um, yeah, I guess that's it. I hope Cure Games is generous. I hope they fix this game's many issues. Uh, the sounds sound pretty good. That's another good thing. The FX is pretty solid, right? After they fixed it all. Yeah, I guess that's it. I really don't have anything more to say. 7 out. Oh well, 7 out of 10. Is that fair? Is that I think it's fair. There's a lot of issues. But like it's pretty fun. Right? It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Is it gonna fill the void for other anime games? You know the one I'm talking about. Maybe it won't. If you don't like the combat, maybe it won't. Maybe it will. Uh, you'll have to see that for yourself. Yeah, I'm gonna go now because I can't think of anything else to talk about related to the game. If you have issues, tell me them down below. Uh, yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, check me on Twitch, and I'll talk to y'all later.